All right, so now that you have seen that what we will be building in this section, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need to do is to indicate to the user that we can, if we want to, click or tap on the rows, and it will take us to the details screen. But right now, there is no indication. I mean, there's no way for me to tell that I can actually tap on this. I mean, I can tap, but let's make it a little bit more clear by adding some sort of an arrow indicating that you can actually tap on this. All right. Now, there are so many different type of arrows you can add. So I'm going to go ahead and use trailing property of the list tile. And in order to add arrow, I'm just going to say icons dot, and you can see so many different type of arrows. There is an arrow right, arrow outline, arrow sharp, so many stuff, so much different stuff there you can use. So let's just say arrow forward. And for arrow forward, you can see there's arrow forward iOS outline, arrow forward outline, arrow forward sharp, many different places or many different ways you can do that. If I go ahead and use arrow forward for the iOS, you'll see arrow forward iOS like this. All right, so let's go with this one. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to tap on this particular list tile, this particular row. So how do we do that? Well, the good news is that there is a function or there is a property called onTap, which is part of the list tile, and it is going to fire a function. And inside that function, we can go ahead and navigate to the details screen. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and create the function that will allow us to navigate to the details screen. And what should we call the function? So let's go ahead and call this navigate to store items. And we're going to go ahead and pass in the context. Now, this is where the problem actually comes back. We don't have access to the context. You can see over here, the only thing we have is the store view model and the store. So how can we pass in the context? And we want to pass and we need to pass in the context. And the reason that we want to pass in the context is that we will use the context eventually to perform the navigation. So if we go and look at our old code, which is navigating right over here, you can see that we were able to pass in the context and then we use the context to perform the navigation. But right now we don't have access to the context. So how can we achieve this? Well, there are multiple ways of doing that. One of the ways is that when you perform onTap, instead of doing the navigation over here, we can send back the control to the caller. So let me show you how this looks like. So let's remove this navigate items. Right now you can see that we are only passing in the store view model, but we can also go ahead and pass in a closure or a function in which we can pass in the store view model, the selected store, and we will call it on store selected. This means that whenever you tap, well, we're going to call this, whenever you call the bill list item, the first thing you're going to pass in will be the store, and the second thing you're going to be passing in is a closure, the function that will be called when you select a store. Now I can go back to my tap function and I can implement or I can call this particular on store selected function that I'm passing. So I'm passing function to a function. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go over here, remove some of the code over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and say on store selected, and I can go ahead and pass in the store, which is a store. All right. Now, whenever I'm calling the bill list item, I need to make sure that I am calling or passing in the function. You can see the second argument is not there. I need to pass in the second argument, which is the function, which will be called whenever we select the item. So how do we do it? Well, it's actually pretty simple. I can go ahead and say store, and there we go. Over here, we can do something. And the good news is that right at this particular place, I have access to the context. So over here, I can go ahead and say navigate to store items, passing in the context and passing in the store. Now, obviously, this function we need to implement, but you can see that now the caller, which in this case is a bill list, has the access to the item, the selected store, and now I can call navigate to store items. Now I can go ahead and implement navigate to store items. So let's go ahead and copy this function, and let's go over here and implement it right here. So I'm going to say void navigate to store items. The first argument we're passing is the context, and the second argument we're passing is the store view model, which is the selected store, the store that we just got selected. And the reason we are passing this is that we need to pass in the selected store to the final screen, which is the store item list page, so that the store items list page knows that which store is actually selected. All right. So next up, we can use the navigator.push, pushing in the context. And let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say context, I believe. Here we go. And then we can say material page route, and we will get access to the builder, which is going to take in the context. And over here, we can call in the name of the page that we want to go, which in this case is store item list page. And in the store item list page, we do have to pass in the store. That's a requirement. All right. So let's go ahead and first check out the store item list page. I'm going to go ahead and jump over there. Store item list page is right over here. And you can see the store item list page does not really have a way to pass in the store. And that is one of the requirements. We need to make sure that we are able to pass in the store, because if we're not able to pass in the store, we don't know that the items we're about to add belongs to which store. So let's go ahead and update that and go ahead and add store view model, which will be a store. We have to make sure that this is automatically added. So, not store. Okay, make sure we are not adding the store. We're adding the store view model. Perfect. And now we can go ahead and possibly create a initializer, or the constructor, store item list page. And this is where you have to pass in the store. So in order to create an object or instance of store item list page, you need to pass in a store, which is a store view model. So let's go ahead and check out our code now. Everything looks fine. Let's go ahead and see that if we are able to go to the store item list page, if I click on Albertsons. There we go. Okay, so we are able to go. HEB, Fiesta, perfect. Now, obviously, right now we are at Albertsons, but look at the title. It just says store name. That's not good. Maybe it should say the name of the store that we just selected. So let's go back to the store item list page and try to find out where we can inject the title. And let's go here. You can see right over here, we are simply calling it store name. We are already passing in the store view model to our store item list page, so we can use store.name. And that's the only thing you will need to do. After making this change, let's go back, and you can already see it's actually updated. So it's pretty cool. You can see that. Let's go back and select a different store, HEB. It says HEB. Fiesta, it says Fiesta. Walmart, it says Walmart. And all of these navigation that we are doing right now, going to HEB, this is the push navigation, not the modal navigation. All right. Since we are running this on the Android device, this is how it behaves. But you can tell because there is a back button. So I can always go back, right? So this is good. We're passing in the store view model. This means that whenever we reach the store item list page, which is the page we are on right now, we know that which store has been selected. So if I go ahead and add a new item over here, let's say milk, price is, let's say $5 or $4 and quantity 2, and we save, we know that this particular milk, this item, will be saved for HEB. And that is exactly what we want to do in the next lecture.